Pennsylvania, Allegheny County, not by happenstance either. There's a House race coming up there in March. The Republicans have owned that seat for like 16 years, but there's some question when this new sort of turnaround thing going on about whether they'll be able to hold it. So the president is there unofficially campaigning for a Republican candidate, while back in Washington there is one discussion: government shutdown. Of course, with one party in charge of everything, a government shutdown will not happen, right? I mean, never in the history of, or at least modern history of the country, has there been a government shutdown when a single party is in charge of Washington. Hook, line, and sinker. House, Senate, White House, one party in charge, that's it. Republicans have it all. Yet the possibility of a government shutdown has escalated. The problem is really in the Senate, but listen to what's happened in the House of Representatives. Members are set to vote at 7 p.m. tonight on a stopgap spending measure, one of those short-term bills to keep the government funded for a few weeks. Again, our senior producer on Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, who's very plugged in, says lawmakers on both sides of the fence are daring the others across the aisle to vote against it. The House plan funds the government through the middle of next month. It does not include protection for the dreamers, the hundreds of thousands of immigrants whose parents brought them here without documents. It does include a 6-year extension of the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP, something Democrats have demanded. If you've been watching TV at all or reading online, you know that the GOP plan was to dare the Democrats to vote against that measure, saying, "We funded the Child Health Insurance Program, or CHIP, for 6 years. You're going to vote against children's health?" I know you've heard this line. It's been everywhere. Well, this morning, while Republicans were trying to get their own votes and their own caucus together, the president blasted out a tweet against the Republican leadership's very plan. One he apparently, well, here's the tweet. CHIP should be part of a long-term solution, not a 30-day or short-term extension. See the thing there? Seems he wants CHIP funded, but not yet. Anyway, we're told Paul Ryan talked to the White House and they worked it out. The president now supports the stopgap resolution. So now the House Republicans think they have the votes to move it along, even though the Freedom Caucus wants more. But getting it to the president's desk may still be extremely difficult to get done, because in the Senate there is growing opposition. The reason? Apparently, senators want something more permanent. Right now, 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats say they'll vote against it, and if so, that will kill it. And that would shut down the government, unless they come up with something else. And there are other possibilities, all of them complicated. Peter Ducey with the news. He's live on Capitol Hill. Peter, what's happening?
Shep, there were many different interpretations here on Capitol Hill about what the president was trying to say regarding the Children's Health Insurance Program. So the White House went into a little bit more detail, with the deputy press secretary sending us this statement. The president supports the continuing resolution introduced in the House. Congress needs to do its job and provide full funding of our troops and military with a 2-year budget caps deal. However, as the deal is negotiated, the president wants to ensure our military and national security are funded. He will not let it be held hostage by Democrats. But if things go south, and there's really no indication about where exactly we are on the road toward a shutdown because so much is in flux, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is making contingency plans. He just blasted out an email to his Senate Republican colleagues, essentially telling them they may need to cancel their flights home for the weekend. This is what he said in part: "We should all plan to stay through this weekend if Senate Democrats follow through and are willing to shut down the government and the Children's Health Insurance Program, because they have yet to conclude a deal on DACA. This is an irresponsible position to take, as everything from pay for our military to processing Social Security checks will be affected. I hope not a single Republican is inclined to join them." However, Republicans will be joining them and voting no, including Rand Paul, who hardly ever votes in favor of continuing resolutions because they don't come with matching spending cuts, Mike Rounds, who thinks the short-term spending bills are bad for the Defense Department, and Lindsey Graham, who is very upset with leadership for turning up their nose at a DACA proposal he worked on with Democratic Senator Dick Durbin. All that, you also have to factor in that Senator John McCain is still not in Washington. He is still in Arizona recovering from brain cancer treatment. Shep.
Of course, before you get to the Senate, you have to get this through the House of Representatives. And to get it through the House of Representatives, well, the Democrats are now saying, or the top leader of the Democrats is saying, that having this children's health chip funded is not enough.
Right. The Republicans, as you mentioned, were basically trying to dare Democrats to vote against CHIP. They added CHIP into this 6 years worth of CHIP funding to a 1-month-long budget as a sweetener. But Nancy Pelosi doesn't think it's very sweet.
This is like giving you a bowl of doggy do, put a cherry on top and call it a chocolate sundae. This is nothing.
Just a few minutes ago at the Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy's office at the end of this hallway, there were negotiations ongoing that involved the White House Chief of Staff John Kelly about DACA. Democrats insist that they are not going to support any deal to fund the government that does not include a fix for these people who are brought into the country illegally as children, basically so that they can stay as adults. But that meeting just broke up, and we have no indication that a deal was made. Shep.
Peter Ducey on Capitol Hill.
Don't forget to click subscribe. It's almost as satisfying as skip ad.